How's it going, guys? I hope you guys had a great week. So I'm back today with another video, guys. This is going to be actually focusing on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So finally, Ubisoft announced its latest Assassin's Creed game, which is coming out at the end of this year. And I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed. I'm also loving the setting for this new game. So I've been reading around, doing a lot of research on this game, and these are 10 confirmed details for Assassin's Creed Valhalla to give you guys a little bit of information about what the game is about, what you can expect from the setting, the gameplay, and so on. So let's kick this off, shall we? Number one, let's talk about the setting. So this is actually the third game chronologically speaking and follows on from the events of Origins, which obviously is set in ancient Egypt, and Odyssey set in ancient Greece. The game actually begins in 873 AD at the late 9th century, and it starts the game in Norway at a Viking settlement. Now from there you basically leave this war-torn land and head to 9th century England to raid and settle new lands. Now England at this time, it's not really the England that we all know in today's modern understanding. England at this time actually was a fractured land divided into different kingdoms, the main ones being East Anglia, Mercia and Wessex. All these kingdoms were divided, and they were all sort of fighting and bickering over land and territory, but actually Wessex was probably the strongest of them, and one of the major reasons for that is King Alfred. He's a pretty famous king in our history. He's actually one of the strongest kings at this time, and there are multiple reasons for this, why he's known as Alfred the Great. The first reason is just how successful he was at pushing back and opposing the Viking invaders. In the cinematic trailer that was revealed, seems to paint him as a villain, possibly a Templar, during this time period. But actually, Alfred the Great, he's much more of a nuanced, complex character. He was an excellent tactician and strategist. It's one of the reasons that he was so successful, not only in fighting against the Vikings, but also pushing them back. But he was also very, very level-headed and very modern. And he was a huge supporter of education. He actually proposed a lot of quite controversial policies then, including having all English conducted in Anglo-Saxon, which was the language of the time, not Latin. He also wanted to have mass and religious ceremonies performed in Anglo-Saxon and not Latin as well, which was very controversial at the time. Alfred the Great was a very shrewd monarch in that he knew when to fight, and was also a brilliant tactician, and he knew when to make alliances and negotiations. And he is well known and documented for having made deals with Vikings at the time to either allow them to settle certain regions or even outright offering them payment to get them to leave his land. So what I am hoping is that the game will actually portray his character as someone who is a little bit more layered and a little bit more complex, rather than just being a one-dimensional villain. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this time period. Of course, late 9th century, this is known as the Dark Ages, and one of the reasons for that is there really isn't much historical fact and documentation at this time, particularly when it comes to the Vikings. Much of their history was not written down. Much of their history was told through story and was passed down from parents to children. So there's a lot of myths and a lot of grandiose stories. Most of the information we have from this time comes from either archaeological finds or the documents written at the time by monks and people that were learned, and of course most of them tended to be reacting to a lot of the raids at that time. So the Vikings are kind of portrayed often in history as these violent, aggressive plunderers and raiders. So it's going to be really interesting to actually get to see a different dynamic to the Vikings, and I'm really interested to see how they portray Alfred the Great and how they portray England at this time, especially for me because I'm from England. I am British, so I'm really interested in this period of history, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Ubisoft handle this time period. The second thing that I want to talk about is the main character. So we do know that the main character is called Eivor. It's actually pronounced Eivor, so Eivor, and it can be, you can play as either male or female. However, unlike Odyssey, where you could choose between twins Alexios and Cassandra, whether you choose to play as male or female, it will be the same character, so you will play as Eivor. You also can't customize your character's facial design, similarly that you couldn't do so in Odyssey, but there will be some form of customization in terms of your armor sets and weapons to make the character your own. We do know that Eivor is a fierce Viking raider, and your role effectively is to lead your clan to build a new home amid England's fractured kingdoms. We do know as well that they are actually going to continue on Layla's story, which began in Origins and continued in Odyssey. So the modern portion of the story is going to be continued as well. The third huge thing in Assassin's Creed Valhalla is settlements. These are going to be a huge part of the gameplay and a huge RPG feature. We have been told that you can recruit members to your settlement and carry out raids, diplomatic or trading missions to help your settlement to build and grow. You can customize your own settlement fully by recruiting new clan members and building upgradable structures. For example, you can get better troops by constructing a barracks, improve your weapons at the blacksmith, or discover new customization options with a tattoo parlor, which sounds awesome. After completing each mission, we have also been told that you'll also be able to return to your settlement and actually to speak to the people there. Akin to Mass Effect's Normandy, the developers have stated that they want to show another side of the Vikings. Aside from the violence and the raids that they are obviously infamous for, they were of course great warriors, but they were also traders and farmers. Settlements themselves per se are not necessarily a new concept to Assassin's Creed. The last one that was introduced was back in Assassin's Creed 3 with Connor's Homestead, and in that game you could actually grow and evolve your settlement by recruiting members to your homestead. So it will be a little bit similar, but a lot more developed and more complex in terms of what you can do. And obviously how your settlement will grow and evolve is entirely up to the individual and will be shaped by the decisions that you make and also by your actions. And Ubisoft have gone a long way to say that your choices will matter. So every political alliance that you build, combat strategy that you employ, or dialogue choice that you make, we have been told will alter your story. So dialogue choices are confirmed to be back, and we are told that there will also be romantic options as well. Hopefully these will be written better than they were in Odyssey, and hopefully your decisions will be far more far-reaching than they were in Odyssey, where they were just there really for flavor. Leveling as well is going to be different, so we won't have a traditional leveling system. One of the biggest criticisms obviously of Origins and Odyssey was the level gated content, which basically forced you to do side missions and conquest battles to level up in order to access later parts of the story campaign. In Valhalla, leveling is actually tied to power and influence. So as your power and influence grows, and as your settlement expands and grows as well, you will actually gain access to powers and skills that can be unlocked, and you can use those on Eivor themselves. So, you know, leveling up your combat ability or your assassin ability, but there may also be abilities that you can unlock for your settlement possibly. It will be interesting to see what we can actually see from that. We haven't had any key gameplay as of yet, but hopefully when they do release this gameplay, they will go into more detail about how leveling is actually going to work and some of the abilities that we can unlock. The fourth thing confirmed is the fact that there will be longboats. Of course, Vikings are famous for their longboats, and you will be able to sail your own longboat called the Drakkar. This will be fully customizable, and you will be able to use it to sail across the North Sea from Norway to England, as well as down rivers and streams. One of the reasons that the Vikings were so successful was just how genius their longboat designs were. They were quite fast, and you know, you could open up the sail to sail across an ocean or across a sea, but then you could take the sail down and use oars, and they could maneuver very quickly and very easily down rivers. This was something that hadn't really been seen before during this time period, and it was one of the major reasons that the Vikings were so successful with their raids and their ability to travel into into inland areas and explore different areas of Anglo-Saxon England. They were notorious for hit and run tactics, getting in and getting out. I would expect that there will not be any big naval battles. I don't think this is really suitable for the time period, but perhaps your longboat will instead be used for exploration. So we do know that longboats are going to be involved in the game in some way. We do definitely know that that is going to be a fairly large element to the game. The fifth thing that the developers talked about was the exploration and the open world elements of the game. This will be an open world, and you can immerse yourself, of course, in raids, big battles, the main story campaign, upgrading your settlement, but also there will be tons of other activities that you can do in the game as well, including hunting, fishing, playing dice, drinking games. This is Vikings, guys, so drinking games should definitely be in there. But also they have mentioned a traditional Norse competition known as flighting, which is basically Viking rap battles, which I didn't know was a thing and sounds really interesting. So I guess we'll see how that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to be like a quick time prompt. I've no idea how they're going to do that, but it should make for some pretty amusing gameplay segments. We do also know that animal companions are going to be in as well, and according to Ashraf Ismail, there is an ability at some point in the game where you can actually call in a wolf to come and help you. There have also been a couple of hints dropped in the pre-order bonuses, which did definitely hint at this. So in the Ultimate Edition, you are given a new skin for your Raven, which I assume is going to be like our eagle vision, and we're going to use that to explore the world around us. But you also get the ferocious Hattie wolf mount, so that's kind of exciting. Does that mean you're actually going to be able to ride certain animals, possibly not just horses? Maybe you can ride other wild animals as well. And there is actually a DLC mission known as the Way of the Berserker, which showed a pretty wicked looking like white bear with a scar down your eye. I don't know if this bear is a creature that you're going to have to fight, or whether it is a creature that you can tame and actually becomes a companion. It'd be really, really cool to see that if that is the case. The sixth thing I want to talk about, of course, is the combat. Assassin's Creed, particularly with Origins and Odyssey, has really fine-tuned the combat, and it has always been one of the strongest elements of the game. Well, combat in Valhalla looks ruthless, it looks visceral, it looks fun. They have completely vamped up the combat system, and that you will be very much fighting in the style of a Viking warrior, and by that I mean there will be a lot of dual wielding, and you can dual wield pretty much any weapon. So there will be axes, swords, and even shields. We got to see a nice little snippet of sort of cinematic cutscene like with combat, and it looked just really cool. You can even throw axes, which would be really awesome. And as well, the combat is going to be quite visceral, quite violent, sort of God of War style, where you can actually dismember opponents in close quarters combat. You can also choose to be more strategic if you're having big huge battles with, you know, using arrows, and assassination will also be a part of the combat as well, and you can assassinate enemies using your hidden blade. And yes, the hidden blade is actually back, which is great to see. I really did miss the hidden blade in Odyssey, so I love the fact that we've got it back now in Valhalla. But for the first time, the hidden blade is actually going to be mounted on the top of your arm rather than at the bottom or underneath your arm. Why is it there? Well, that has very much to do with Eivor. Apparently, when he got the hidden blade, he thought that the weapon was so cool looking and so powerful that, being a Viking, why would you hide this from your enemies? You want to have it out in clear sight so it would instill fear in your enemies. And I just think that's a really nice little touch. In terms of combat, there are two kinds of combat missions, I guess. You have huge battles. These are obviously between Vikings and the Saxons at the time. These will be epic battles on par with AC Odyssey, and there will also be multiple enemy types. Apparently Ubisoft have said that there are more enemy types in this game than there have ever been in an Assassin's Creed game. We know of those enemy types. We got to see one of them, which was called the Ringleader. Incredibly strong, powerful, hard-hitting enemy, and is actually on the battlefield there to rally the troops. Attacking this enemy seems to be quite hard and quite difficult, and they have dropped hints to say that you need to look for weak points this. So that'll be interesting to see if that affects the combat and you're trying to focus on, legs or knees or weak points in the armor. That would be kind of cool to see how that's actually going to play into the combat. As part of these huge battles as well, you will be able to attack fortifications and forts, and I really am hoping that we'll get to see the Vikings attack York, or even possibly defending York at this time. I think that would be really, really cool to see that, particularly because I have been to York many times, and there's this was a major Viking settlement and city. There's quite a large Viking influence in the north of England, so I'm really hoping we'll get to see that, because I think that'll be really, really cool for me. As well, there will be smaller raids. These are hit and run missions, and the idea of these, of course, is to create chaos among the Anglo-Saxons. The seventh thing I want to talk about is online features. We do know that there will be some kind of online feature. It isn't going to involve cooperative play. Ubisoft have confirmed there will be no co-op play. So the last time we had that was on AC Unity. It didn't go so well, and it seems like Ubisoft perhaps have been burnt by that experience a little bit, but there will be some kind of online feature here where you can actually create and customize your own mercenary Vikings to share online. If you then put these up online and these characters are, I guess, downloaded, someone takes them into the game or recruits them to their raiding party, you will then actually reap the spoils when they fight alongside your friends in their own raids. So you can gain rewards from this, but you can also recruit mercenaries created by other players into your own game to help strengthen your own forces as well. And I think that's a really nice little feature. I think this area has a lot of potential, particularly in terms of online raids, online missions and co-op play. I think that would make for a pretty awesome multiplayer. The eighth thing, of course, let's talk about the Norse Gods. So we did get to see a hooded assassin-like looking figure, and Eivor seemed to believe that this character was Odin. Of course, this game is inevitably going to be compared to God of War, but Ash has said that they want the game to be really grounded in reality. So we're not going to get these great mythical kind of scenes or anything like that we would do in God of War, where we're sort of, drinking ale with gods, but they have talked about the fact that these gods are pretty important to Viking life. They're a huge part of everyday Viking life, from ceremonies, rituals, sacrifices. So they will be a lot of references to the different Norse gods, and that'll be really cool because I'm finding that really interesting at the moment. Ever since playing God of War, I'm really interested in Norse mythology, and I have been watching Vikings on Amazon Prime. I'm on season 6 now, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I've really enjoyed Vikings, so that's made me more interested in this time period. So I'm really looking forward to how Ubisoft deal with that. The ninth thing, of course, I need to talk about is the fact that Ashraf Ismail is confirmed to be the game's director. Now, for me, this is an important point because actually that tells me that the game is in excellent hands. Ashraf, if you don't know, was the main lead on Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Assassin's Creed Origins. The fact that he is in charge, the fact that he's leading the way with this really does instill a lot of confidence in me. I think we're likely to get a very, very good game. Whenever Ashraf has been involved in any Assassin's Creed game, he always tries to push the boundary and introduce something new to push the series forward. He did that with Black Flag with the introduction of naval combat, which was fantastic. He really took that to an entirely new level. And then obviously with Origins, he completely revamped not only the combat system, but also the way that side missions and character development happened as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what he does with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And finally, the 10th thing that we learned was about the release date and pre-order bonuses for the game. So we do know that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is coming out in holiday 2020, and it will actually be a release title for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I actually guessed this because the same happened for Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I guess I guessed right because it is going to be a release title for the next gen consoles. It will also be available on the Xbox One, PC, PS4 and Stadia for those of you that can't afford to make that jump straight away. Microsoft have confirmed that Valhalla though will support their new smart delivery system. So if you have an Xbox One and you buy it on Xbox One, then you will actually be able to play the game on the Xbox Series X when you choose to upgrade to the next gen console. Of course, this is an Ubisoft game, so there are many options in terms of pre-ordering. There are multiple versions of the game that you can buy, from standard, gold, ultimate and collector's editions. The game is also going to offer a season pass as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail on pre-orders because I generally don't pre-order games now, but I will put a link in the comments section below if you want to go and have a check at them and see what Ubisoft are offering as incentive for pre-ordering. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, guys, looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this game coming out in holiday 2020, and it's now going on to my list of most anticipated games this year. Love the setting, love the fact it's set in the Dark Ages. I love the idea of being a Viking. I'm loving everything I'm hearing about settlements and combat, and it just sounds really fun. So let me know what you guys think of the news about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Are you going to be picking up this game and playing it? What are your thoughts on all the information that's been confirmed by Ubisoft at the moment? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys having a great week. Of course, take care, stay safe, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.